After the most recent back-to-back mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, Democrats, including the party's presidential candidates, renewed their calls for changes to gun laws. Amna Nawaz has more on where the candidates stand.
Many of the 2020 candidates spent the day at a forum in Las Vegas, explaining how they would curb gun violence. As South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg took the stage, he made clear all the Democratic candidates have a united goal.
I'm guessing that pretty much everybody in the parade of candidates you're about to see is going to call for universal background checks, closing the hate loophole, the Charleston loophole, the boyfriend loophole, disarming domestic abusers, enacting red flag laws, extreme risk protection orders, banning the sale of assault weapons like what I carried in Afghanistan. We know what we have to do.
Our own John Yang was at the forum today, and he joins me now. John, good to talk to you. We heard from Mayor Buttigieg right there, and another candidate, former Vice President Joe Biden, released his own plan to curb gun violence in the country today. What was notable about that plan?
Well, Amna, one thing notable, it was the last of the major candidates to release his gun plan, and he chose this forum, co-sponsored by Gabby Giffords Gun Violence Foundation and the March for Our Lives group, the student group founded after the Parkland High School shooting. And this shooting, one day after the second anniversary of the Harvest Music Festival shooting here in Las Vegas that claimed 58 lives. Fitting his role as sort of the moderate candidate, Joe Biden's plan had some moderate points in it. There are three main points. He wants to expand background checks, but importantly, he wants to exclude sales between close family members. That's an exclusion very important to a lot of gun owners. He also wants to restore the assault weapon ban, the ban on manufacturing new assault weapons. And for existing assault weapons, he has a middle ground, not a mandatory buyback, a voluntary buyback. Owners of assault weapons would have to choose under his plan whether to sell their weapon back to the government or undergo a background check and register in order to keep their assault weapon. So a middle ground on that issue.
So, John, a lot of those things we heard Mayor Buttigieg list there at the top. When we look broadly at a lot of the candidates' plans as they've been put forward, you see some common elements. There's a lot of common ground among the candidates. Where are the areas of disagreement among those Democratic presidential candidates right now?
Well, that's certainly true. That is sort of the mainstream agreement among the candidates. But one candidate in particular today, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, tried to distinguish himself from the other candidates. Here he is talking about a national registry for gun owners.
Here's my message to Democrats. The public is already there. Well over 75% of Americans support gun licensing. This isn't about leadership. Leadership is bringing people along with you. The public is already there. You should not be a nominee from our party that can seriously stand in front of urban places and say, I will protect you if you don't believe in gun licensing. This isn't about leadership. This is about you standing with the overwhelming majority of Americans on gun licensing.
Another candidate, Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, said the differences in the details of the individual plans aren't that important.
This is not going to be a one and done to fix this problem. It's not going to be we'll get 2 statutes passed and 3 regulations changed, problem fixed, because it won't be fixed.
And it's so many of the differences between the candidates on so many issues, it comes down to a breakdown between progressives and moderates. But on gun buybacks, here's what our latest NewsHour NPR Marist poll found. It showed among Democrats there's broad support, 70% support a mandatory buyback for assault weapons. And look at this. It's no difference between progressives and moderates. Statistical tie, both about 70% support that.
Yeah, John, you see those numbers as the candidates are saying the support is there among a lot of their potential voters for some of these reforms. As you mentioned, you're standing there on the site of the deadliest modern shooting in U.S. history. I'm curious, though, it's a lot of the activists who were there, who are at the forum, for whom this might very well be a voting issue. How have they changed the conversation, and what are you hearing from them about these plans?
Yeah, producer Meredith Lee talked to a lot of the people here, the activists who are here, and we want to play some of that tape for you. First, we're going to hear from Victor Pancheo, 24-year-old from South Central Los Angeles.
So I really like the plans of folks like Senator Sanders or Warren. I really appreciate their, focusing on lower income communities, communities that aren't only experiencing mass gun shootings, but are also experiencing daily gun violence throughout the community, and that are historically not focused on when it comes to these issues.
I want us to talk about the intersection of gun violence. I think that is a very important thing. The intersection of gun violence with mental health, with police brutality, with criminal justice. It's a very widespread and multifaceted issue. So to really address every single side of gun violence in a way that is not just mass shootings, that isn't just the kids from Parkland, but is the churches and the concerts and the streets and the cities.
That was Delaney Tarr. She's 19 years old. She's from Parkland, Florida, one of the co-founders of March for Our Lives. They have some differences, but they're coming together and agreeing on a lot of the broad strokes of gun control. But one thing in common we heard both not only among the candidates, but among the activists here. They feel in order to get meaningful gun control laws, they've got to defeat Donald Trump for the White House next November, and they've got to defeat the Republicans who control the Senate. There was also a lot of talk here about the National Rifle Association, about how corporate America controls politics, and saying that the NRA now no longer represents gun owners, but has become a lobby for gun makers. Anna?
That is John Yang in Las Vegas for us on an issue that's sure to be front and center in the 2020 election. Thanks, John.